All right, cool. All right, so my talk today is really about how we can write code that has an impact on the world. I remember when I was in college, a lot of the discussion in classes and even in clubs and talking with people who were in the CS kind of world, like studying computer science with me, it was a lot of theoretical stuff, like talking about big O notation, how we can create algorithms that are theoretically perfect, all this stuff. And it took me a lot of trial and error to try and to figure out how to write code that can have a real tangible impact in the world. And so I kind of want to give you guys a shortcut so that you don't have to go through all that trial and error today. And hopefully, maybe you can even start writing code that matters before you graduate. To me, I feel like that was my goal going into my CS degree, was to create impact as quickly as possible. So we're going to talk about that. Software engineering is hard. Studying software engineering in school is hard, and so I want to kind of help you make it worthwhile. So the general itinerary here is I'm gonna talk about who I am, what I do. We're going to talk about what it means for code to matter. We're going to talk about Harper, which is the product that I work on, the product that I kind of founded, and then we're going to kind of go through the steps that you need to write code that matters. And then at the end, we'll have questions, and I mean this very, very emphatically, if you have questions before I'm done, please ask them. I find that it's a lot easier to answer questions when we're in the context of the talk, and it actually can save us a lot of time, and I can probably answer your question even better. So
if anyone has a question out there, please raise your hand, and I'll repeat the question over the laptop because unfortunately the mic setup is not working as normal. So that's how we can do that. Sweet. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you, Lucas. Yes, exactly. Okay, so hi, I'm Elijah. I'm an LLM pessimist. I don't think that large language models are fundamentally as helpful as people make them out to be. This will be important later. That said, I would consider myself an AI optimist. These are very Twitter, X kind of titles, but I would consider myself an AI optimist. I think that machine learning is an incredibly powerful tool, and if we apply it the right way, it can solve a lot of really important problems. I'm a previous Mines computer science student, so I actually joined my freshman year at the Colorado School of Mines, which is just it's like the main engineering school in Colorado. And Lucas joined me. We were in the same year. I say current because I am technically still a student. I haven't graduated because when I founded Harper, so we're going to talk about that in a second. When I founded Harper, it was acquired before I graduated, and so I went on indefinite leave, and I haven't gone back to school. So I'm technically still a student, but I haven't made any progress towards completing my degree since basically I started Harper. So we're going to talk about that. I am a bullet point hater. Hopefully these are going to be the only bullet points you see on this entire slide deck. There is nothing that bores me more than a slide deck filled with bullet points, so we're going to skip that. And then I'm currently a software engineer at the Automatic Applied AI division. So we're going to get into what Automatic is. I'm just at the part of Automatic that does AI stuff. So Automatic, if you've never heard of us, we're the company, our founder, Matt Mullenweg, calls us the Berkshire Hathaway of the internet. So we really do a lot of different things. Odds are you've used one of our products. I can't see the audience right now, but I assume at least some of you have heard of WordPress.
Has anyone heard of
Is that true,
WordPress?
Lucas?
I'll just vibe check. We got like 50%. Oh. We had like 50%. I don't know why. I forgot to unmute.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
50% of you know what WordPress is. That our fundamental business started out as WordPress. We were WordPress. The founder of Automatic was also the creator of WordPress. We also own Tumblr. Day One, if you've heard of that. Pocket Casts. Lucas is a huge fan of Pocket Casts. Beeper. And then there are some products that are not actually listed on this page, but we do a lot of different things. And one of them is Harper. And like I said, so WordPress is an open source project. We have been probably the biggest maintainers of WordPress since its founded. Its founding. After all, Matt started WordPress. He was the main contributor. He created Automatic as the kind of corporate steward of the project. So WordPress powers something like 43% of websites on the internet today. It is a website builder. Most websites, most large websites, the New York Times, the White House, actually The Verge, TechCrunch, these are all websites that are run and hosted by us on WordPress. So we run the open source project, but we provide the hardware that can power that open source project so that it can serve as many people as possible. So open source is really kind of in Automatic's bones, and I think that's why they were so interested in Harper when they acquired it. We're going to get into that though. So really, Automatic does a lot of different things. I work for the AI division of Automatic, which works to apply AI to all of these different products, like WordPress, WooCommerce, Tumblr, Pocket Casts, all of these things. So like I said, Harper, technically it was acquired in December of last year. We were public about it before that, but so Automatic acquired Harper last year. I dropped out of school, and since then I've been working on Harper full-time as an open source maintainer. If you'd like, we can talk about what open source maintenance actually looks like. Trust me, it's a lot less interesting than you think. But we can get to that. So what does it mean for code to matter? Well, for me, making code that matters meant something useful. It meant something that was just tangibly productive to my own life. Made me happy. But I'm curious, like, for some other people here, and we can popcorn if you want, what does it mean for you for code to matter?
Does someone want to try a stab at it? Just shout it out. Go for it. Go for it.
Modular, readable, and expandable, and scalable.
Were you able to hear that?
Yes.
Okay.
So modular, readable, scalable.
Yeah.
Did you say tangible?
Expandable.
No, that's the three.
Expandable. I do like tangible though. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
When I feel like I've written good code, it feels like I'm holding it in my hands and that it's like, I don't know, like it's got that physicality to it.
Go for it.
But I think that's really
One sec, we
important.
have one more in the back. Go
Oh,
for it.
my apologies. Go ahead.
I would think, based on my own experience, a project or code that you know is actually serving a purpose that is helpful to others.
Were you able to hear that? Purpose that is
Yes.
helpful to others.
Okay. So I'm hearing kind of
Sorry,
two
we have one
sides
more.
here.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
It needs to produce something that's accessible.
Accessible. That's a good one.
I like that.
Okay.
Any more?
I don't see any more. Okay.
Okay. So I am hearing like a couple different sides to this. On one hand, we have like the quality of the code itself. And on the other hand, we have like its usefulness and its accessibility and how it integrates in a world with people in it. And I think those are two very, very important points. I feel like the former, the quality of the code itself serves the latter. They're both important. For me, it was like I said, building something that was tangibly useful in my own life. So I kind of want to tell that story. Hopefully, kind of get the gears working, because I think that while this story is unique to me, I think that parts of it might resonate in your own lives. So this is my story. So I was in college, like I said. I was in my freshman year with Lucas, and I was having this problem. I was a fool. I was an utter fool because I was trying to type all of my notes every single day for all of my classes. This was a terrible idea. Please don't. If you're doing this, good power to you. Good luck, because it did not work for me. My retention wasn't very good because keyboards aren't good for retention. And more importantly, I just wasn't able to keep up. Being able to write and type out all of these equations on my keyboard, especially like in like classes with a lot of like matrices or derivatives or integrals, like it's very challenging to type all that on a keyboard as quickly as you can. And even for classes that were more humanities based, the professor would just talk too fast, and it was really hard for me to keep up. And in the end, by like typing out my notes, I was creating more work for myself than I needed to. I would take notes in lecture. I would make those notes legible after lecture, because inevitably when I'm typing that fast, there's just going to be problems, spelling mistakes, grammatical errors, that kind of thing. I would insert diagrams into notes if they were relevant, and then finally I would be able to study. And it's just not a very efficient protocol. So I wanted to eliminate step 2. I wanted to try and make these notes as legible as possible before the lecture was over. So I looked at some of the existing things out there. Like, I'm sure a lot of you have heard of Grammarly. Fewer of you, but still some of you might have heard of Language Tool. And these are both tools that fundamentally they look at your work, they try to identify errors or semantic, like a lack of clarity in your semantic meaning, and they try to work to improve your writing. And so I tried to use both of these tools, and I didn't find either of them really good enough for what I was trying to do. So Grammarly, proprietary, costs money. I didn't want to pay for that. But the bigger problem was it was really, really slow. It would never keep up with what I was trying to do. And it was locked down. Like, everything that I was writing would be sent off to Grammarly servers and likely at that point used to train LLMs. And I really wanted the stuff that I wrote to be truly mine. I didn't want it to be partly Grammarly's or partly part of whatever LLM they were using. Actually, you can tell that this slide deck is a little old for 2 reasons. First is Grammarly is just public. They're very, very public about the fact that they train LLMs on your work. When I made this slide deck, it wasn't actually public knowledge yet. They were still kind of cagey about whether or not they were training LLMs on your work or selling your data to any companies. Now they're just, they are doing that. So kind of a privacy nightmare. The other reason is because I think as of today, Grammarly just renamed themselves to something completely different, which I think is just kind of funny. I think it's called Superhuman now. Language Tool, on the other hand, Language Tool is another tool that looks at your writing and tries to identify errors or tries to improve it in some way. And it's open source, and you can run it on your own hardware, which is awesome, but it's pretty chunky. It's written in Java, so the absolute minimum that you could have a Language Tool installation is 500 megs, and at runtime it seemed to fit around there at minimum. But if you wanted all of the features of Language Tool, you needed to download these massive data sets that were something like 16 gigs or more. They were huge. And it was also slow. It was definitely faster than Grammarly, but it was still a good bit slower than I wanted. So what did I want to do? I wanted to create my own alternative. I wanted to create a grammar checker that was like Grammarly or like Language Tool, but fast and cheap and private. I didn't want to give away my data to some unnamed company or OpenAI or whatever. I wanted it to be fast so that I could keep up with notes in my lectures, and I didn't want to pay for it. So what is an engineer when they don't want to pay something? They build it themselves. So that's exactly what I did. Today, you can use Harper in a gazillion different text editors. This list is actually kind of out of date. We have support in NeoVim, WordPress, Obsidian. Zed is kind of a new player. We have a VS Code extension. We have a Chrome extension. We have a Firefox, Edge. Soon, hopefully, a Firefox extension. You can use Harper pretty much anywhere you want to work. Not everywhere, but we're getting close. And it's free. So that's the first kind of point of my presentation. Build something that you would actually use. You don't want to pay for something? Just build that same thing, open source it, use that. That's a really good side project idea. Just whatever you don't want to pay for. It's that simple. Well, there's some more steps here. That's just step 1. the other kind of idea that I think I hit upon really early on was that language was really complex. So language is extremely complicated. There's so many edge cases and different forms and tenses and all these things. And it's just a very complex beast. And so step two is you should really pick something that's very, very hard. Because at the end of the day, like with step one, if you build something that you use, well, if all else fails, if no one else finds your project useful, you still have something that's useful to you. So that's a net positive. You can avoid that, whatever, actually Grammarly's $30 a month now. You can avoid, what is that per year? 30 times 12. 200, help me out here. $360 a year?
360.
Is that right? Dang. Yeah, Grammarly's $30 a month, so at the very least, I would have been saving $30 a month on Grammarly. But I also chose something that's really, really hard. So even if nothing had happened with Harper and I was still the only one using it, I still would have learned something about choosing and solving really complicated and hard problems. And I mean, in the marketplace, like if you're looking to get a job, proof that you have solved a really, really hard problem that nobody else has tried to solve, at least open source, is super valuable. Super valuable. So pick something really, really hard. So like I said, language is really complex. I have a slide. Are people curious how Harper works? Or how Grammarly or language tool
We
work?
have
I
a
believe they
general
do it.
consensus, it seems, of yes.
Okay, all right, cool. So Harper, before it was a grammar checker, it was based off of code. I had written a programming language, an interpreted programming language, just for the heck of it, because it sounded fun, and I didn't have a girlfriend at the time. So a lot of parts of Harper started out as parts of a programming language. So if you've taken a programming language class or a compiler's class, some of this may look similar to you. The fundamental idea is kind of this flow. There are some kind of complexities hidden in these blocks. You start out with an input document. This is usually raw text. Harper has some special kind of delegation code that lets us handle multiple kinds of documents. So we can take in Markdown, HTML. I think we do technically have support for LaTeX. It's not great. What are some of the others? We support basically every programming language out there so that you can grammar check your comments and stuff. So we have an input document. It's usually just raw text. We lex it first, which is essentially we go through and identify each chunk of semantic meaning. So punctuation, periods, exclamation points, question marks, words, paragraph breaks. We take that and we organize it into a single common format. So even if you're using Markdown or HTML or we're parsing the comments out of JavaScript code, after the lexing stage, no matter what format it's in, it all looks the same. So it starts as an input document that's just raw text. We lex it to take away all of the agnostic, like markup agnostic components, so that we just have something clean that we can work with. From there, we parse it in like formal programming languages like Python or JavaScript. This is a very straightforward process. I mean, it's still complicated, but it's straightforward. There's not a whole lot of fuzziness, like either your code is correct syntax or it's incorrect syntax. There's not really an in-between. But with English, there is a huge in-between, and we actually want to find that in-between so that we can fix it, right? So parsing for us looks like a more fuzzy process of if you toss machine learning plus a little bit of algorithms plus a little bit of data structures in a pot and stirred it for a little while. I can go into more detail if you're curious about that, but for now, it's kind of fuzzy parsing. We're taking semantic meaning from the individual components that we get out of the lexer. From there, we pass it over to a rule engine, and this is kind of where we take all of the specific grammatical rules that you find in like Merriam-Webster's dictionary or the Elements of Style or any of these main like style guides slash grammar books. We take those, we condense them down into either Rust code, or we have a special domain-specific language that we can write these in. We take the rule from the grammar book, we can condense it down into code, and that goes in our rule engine. And this is a pretty parallel process. We have hundreds of these rules, and they're all running at the same time on the same tokens or parse tree. And then from there, we pass the result of that, which is just a sequence of suggestions, just a list of suggestions to possibly make the input document more grammatically correct or more clear. And we shuffle that over to whatever UI we have, and that depends on the platform. So like, if you're in Obsidian, that's a different package. If it's in VS Code, it's different UI, it just kind of varies. That part's actually really every part of this process except for lexing is pretty complicated. Parsing is a really complex system. The rule engine is a really tedious system to build out. And then each text editor has a lot of different, just semantics, and it can be difficult to support them all. So yeah, language is complex. People use language in a lot of really complex ways. And the whole thing is just hard. But that's okay, or at least it was okay when I started out, because even if no one ended up using Harper, I can still say, oh, I solved this really, really complex problem, and now I know a lot more about how to solve complex, hard problems. And I can pitch that on my resume. I solved this really, really hard problem. I can do the same thing for you as a business. So that's step 2. Because even if it doesn't go anywhere and your side project isn't helpful to anyone other than you, at least you can say on your resume, I'm able to solve hard problems for you, and you should pay me more. So, yeah. And then the last step is you just got to find people like yourself. I was a college student. I was using this grammar checker to type my notes up. I was kind of a nerd, so I was using NeoVim to do it. I went out and I tried to find people like myself. Lucas was one of them. He used NeoVim. He typed his notes in class. He wanted to try Harper out when I had a version that worked. So that's step 3, is you got to go out and tell the world about it as soon as possible. Even if it doesn't look great, even if it's a little complicated and, you don't think the code is there. Most of the time people do not care what the code looks like, honestly. They care that it works. If the code looks good and it's scalable and it is all the things that you mentioned, great. That'll make it easier for you to make something that works. Just tell the world about it, though. Don't worry about code quality. Don't let that stop you. So that's step 3, talk to people. So that's the end of the talk, but I'm happy to go off on any tangents if you have any questions about how technically Harper works, or what it's like to be an open source maintainer, or what it's like to just skip any part of yeah.
Go for it.
What's the incentive for Automated to acquire Harper? It being open source Harper. How do they make money from that?
Sorry.
Why does Automated want to have Harper as a part of its
Okay.
even though it's open source?
Why does Automatic want to have Harper even though it's open source as a monetization perspective?
So if you think so, Automatic is a reasonably large company. I think we have 1,500 people. The reason we don't have Automatic is not a public company. Automatic is a private company. Automatic's mission is not necessarily it's not like Apple or Google where they're federally mandated to make money. That's not what we're trying to do. Automatic takes the long game, right? We're not really worried about we're trying to make the world a better place. We believe that can be done best through software that is open source. And we also believe that over time, open source software tends to win in the marketplace. Think about WordPress. WordPress decimated every single other web hosting or web building platform out there. And it was because it was open source. Because people could build on it and make something bigger than it was when they started. that ended up being pretty good for Automatic in the end. And so, Harper is an open source project. It's private, it's offline. But we really do believe that over time it will become the best grammar checker out there, partly because it's entirely open source. Language Tool is open source, partly. Parts of it are open source, but the vast majority of Language Tool is not open source. It is closed down and proprietary. And that's okay. They obviously want to make money, but in the long run, we believe that being part of the community that uses the software is really, really important for the success of the software itself. Yeah. At least that's my belief. I can't speak for, whatever planning leadership has in the level above me, but that is part of what we do. We do open source. Automatic has I think they call it 5 for the future. 5% of all company time is spent working on open source projects, and Harper is part of that.
All right, any other questions? No? Okay, sweet. All right, thank you, Elijah, for coming. Can we
Of
have
course.
everyone give Elijah a round of applause? Good luck on everyone else's midterms for this week and next week. Thank you for coming. Yeah, thank you.